Matthews wasn't there, Hoyt wasn't there, Elite. I mean, are we witnessing the death of ATA? Look, it's no secret from the media coverage that ATA was down in several ways. A couple of those big vendors pulled out. You know, companies like Sitka haven't been there in a few years. Matthews, a staple, wasn't there. Hoyt. And overall, I'd say vendors in general were down 30 to 40%. I would say attendance was down 40 to 50%. And just energy in the room was probably down 50, 60, 70% at times. It just did not seem to have the buzz. And I think there's a few things that probably need to change to save the show, if you will, if you want to save the show. I personally probably saw ATA peak. I was there the year the Garmin site came out and what kind of buzz that was, and the media was kind of getting that information out, and I believe like the buzz of archery was huge, you know, rewind about 5-6 years ago. But now it seems obviously the space is changing, and you know, you guys may have thoughts of why companies aren't there, and maybe you guys have ways you think you can improve the show. I do have a couple ways I think maybe if we want to save this thing that could work. But yeah, if you guys have ideas, by all means drop them in at the end of this video. But you know, the space is different, and getting that information out, or companies are just seeing that maybe the value's not there in ATA. And that's unfortunate, because I've been a fanboy of the archery space and seeing these new products, and it's so cool when something does come out and it maybe fits a niche in your personal bow hunting, or you think if it could solve a solution for you. And you also see the snowball effect, where a product comes out and then, you know, the other companies or players in the space evolve a little bit, and in 4 or 5 years, it's so much better. You know, it's really concerning, and maybe it's just a change, and maybe these companies, the direct-to-consumer companies, continue to come out, and the power of social media, the power to get eyeballs, maybe the show's not as valuable as it once was, I think, clearly. And I think there's a few reasons for that, and I think the general public doesn't know how truly expensive it is to go to ATA. A just slightly above average booth, you know, is anywhere between 8 to 10 grand for the couple days there. And then you kind of like, okay, I need 3 people to run the booth. Well, I've got some numbers here, like $200 a night in hotels, so $600. Multiply that out by 4, you're looking at 2.5 grand nearly, just in paying for hotel rooms for people to be there at the booth. And who knows if you're going to write any orders, potentially. And then you throw $100 in food a day. So, you know, multiply out, it just starts really adding up costs for these, especially medium to smaller vendors. And the big boys, they've clearly made it very clear that they don't need to be there, they feel, at this point. So I had a couple of ideas and thoughts of how to save it. And the first being, everyone says, let's open it up to the public. Well, the problem there is everybody and their brother would like to be there who hasn't been. And it is super cool, and I recommend you go if you ever get the chance, at least with the current state. It's very cool. It's bigger than I ever thought it would be. And, you know, the way I think to open it to the public would actually almost look at it as a draw hunt system, where the public would put in a low dollar amount, whatever ATA determines that to be, and it would take that money and use that as some of its cash accumulation or whatever to reduce the cost on the vendors that are coming there to present the products, to meet with people in the space. But you'd open it up to the public, put a dollar amount on it, hopefully raise X number of funds, and then draw. Maybe you're going to let 1,000 people in the door on Saturday or Sunday, or whatever they determine due to building codes and people in the show. But I think by opening it to the public and having it being a draw, that would put some desire, some energy, and it'd be cool for the random public to go experience, you know. The other thing, and I think this is a little tougher to execute, and you would need the archery companies on board, and especially the bow companies, because let's call it bow hunting. I mean, the bow is kind of the driver of the boat somewhat in this space. Although mobile hunting has really stolen the show the last couple of years, between Tethered and Lone Wolf Custom Gear having some very popular booths. But could there maybe be an agreement among the major manufacturers or all bow companies that you got to release at ATA? You know, that puts companies in general. Could you expand that to all the companies? Could you say, hey, if you're going to be at ATA or to preserve ATA for the betterment of the sport and the industry, don't release as many products or limited products, release Q4, that final quarter of the year. And that way, ATA has the buzz. You know, any new broadhead that was going to come to market is out. Any new arrow, bow, anything to do with the sport of archery and bow hunting would be released at ATA versus any time in that Q4, let's call it October, November, December time period. I think that would create some buzz. I think it would get some of that atmosphere back in the show. And I know they've really, they've had negative thoughts and opinions around ATA just being a place that anybody with a show, a podcast, is looking to grab cash. Or make moves. And I will say at ATA this year, from the small group of friends that I have in the space doing podcasting and shows and YouTube and just having a brand, they had more meaningful conversations because it wasn't so crazy. But I do think we might be on the death of ATA. And I look at SHOT Show, for example. It does seem to still have the buzz, and I'm following it on social, and it's obviously a much bigger production. But I don't know if it's suffering like the ATA blip this year. And I know COVID had something to do with that, but you know, I think looking at maybe what ATA is a little differently in big picture, if you feel it's good for the sport of archery and bow hunting to keep that show alive, you got to look at a couple different pivots or moves at this point to save that thing. So let me know your guys' thoughts, if you think it's done and it should just die, or maybe you got ways to improve it. But you know, that's something I've been wanting to do a video on, having been there for a couple years now, and just seen the whole place change. Appreciate you guys watching. I'll have a little bit more of a mobile hunter or some technical video here in the next week or two, kind of get back to the normal channel, but just something that was on my mind and wanted to get out there.